Now convene our regular study session for the morning of October the 28th. And again, I'll note that all of our council are present. First item on our agenda is to review the agenda for our Monday, November the 1st regular council meeting. I know we've got a couple of items on this that staff is prepared to give some information on, but council, anything that you'd like to begin with for our Monday meeting? Any questions? Mr. Thompson.
Can we get a discussion about the lab, Queen Creek? Just be good to hear.
Welcome.
Good morning. Yes, so we are looking to enter into an agreement with the town of Queen Creek. Queen Creek is beginning their police department in January with a staff of about 54. And so they are looking to contract with us to do all of their forensic services with the exception of crime scene and ink print analysis. It's basically very similar to what we do currently with the town of Gilbert, and we just began doing with the city of Tempe. So they will transfer evidence to us and we will process it normally. The funds that we get from them are utilized to hire, in this case, a forensic scientist, as well as cover the cost of consumables, reagents, and equipment as needed for that employee and to provide the services.
So our costs are completely covered?
Yes, they are.
Contract?
Yes, that's
Awesome.
correct.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just wanted the library director to speak on, thank you.
Oh, yes.
I think you're done. To speak on the contract with Maricopa County as far as the library and,
Okay.
and this is probably normal, but it'd be nice to hear about it. And I know it's, I'm sorry, it's 5A?
5A.
Yeah. Oh, am I?
Yes.
That's okay?
Yes, please. Thank you. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On, your new position.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and council members. I'm Polly Bonnet, new library director for the Mesa Public Library, and here with me is Brandon Williams. He's our IT administrator, and he may be best to answer some specifics about the contract, but is there anything in particular we can address?
You just might want to address why we do this. I know
Okay.
that we access library materials through the county, and many community members may not be aware that we're doing that. It's part of I think, a consortium of such. Maybe you could speak on that.
This contract is actually all about our IT equipment we use, and we partner with the county, just the contract itself through Biblioteca. This contract actually covers our maintenance agreements for our self-checks, our security gates, our automated material handling, some of our cloud library e-resources, and all of our RFID equipment. This year, we have been approved to spend, some life cycle funds to replace our automated material handling at our Red Mountain location. We have 2 sorters over there. That's going to bump up our cost on this contract, so we're trying to extend the contract in order to replace this equipment. This contract, I believe, will extend for 5 years. That will also cover next year. We're planning on replacing our Maine and Dobson sorters. And then hopefully the year after we'll be purchasing equipment for our Southeast Library.
Great.
And Councilmember Luna, I believe what you might be speaking about is the library assistance program that we have through the county.
Right.
And what that is we are reimbursed if there is anyone outside of Mesa who, in Maricopa County, who has a Mesa library card, we are reimbursed dollars from Maricopa County.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the hard work you do, and I appreciate what you do for our libraries. And in fact, yesterday there was an event over at Red Mountain, and very popular event with the children there. And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Polly. Other questions regarding our Monday agenda? Vice Mayor?
Yes, on item 7B, I'm not sure if a presentation is planned. It is? Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll just wait for that presentation.
Actually, we could bring that presentation up now,
Yeah, I was aware, I think we have presentations on 7A and 7B.
and we'll start with 7B.
Okay, thank you. 7B is our business license issue that we've been talking about for quite a while.
There we go. Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to be here today to kind of give you an update on our business license and where we're at, and answer any questions afterwards if you have any. My name, by the way, is Tim Meyer. I'm the Business Licensing and Revenue Collections Administrator. And with me is,
Good morning, Sarah Staudinger from the City Attorney's Office.
good. So just to kind of go over an overview of where we're at with the business license, this screen shows the cities that do have the business license currently, and you'll notice the major cities that do not have one are Phoenix, Tempe, and Mesa, which we hopefully will shortly have one that we'll be introducing on Monday. Some of the reasons for the business license, some of the highlights really of that, the screen's got a lot of information, but it's going to give us a lot of data that we're going to be able to collect and help businesses in Mesa so that they can hopefully make better business decisions if they choose to access that data. So we'll be collecting basic things like what kind of businesses do we have, where are they located so we can find clustering of businesses. We'll have more idea of what kind of service businesses we have, because right now we have no data really on what businesses we have in the service industry. And let's see, and we also, I just want to point out too that we did get a letter of support from the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, so they're very excited about getting this as well. So, and it'll definitely help our economic development department out. Who's going to need a business license? Pretty much anyone that deals in any kind of goods and materials, any service businesses, and we'll also be collecting data on home-based businesses. Who's not going to need a business license in Mesa? It'll be anyone that's really an out-of-state business, food producers, anyone with residential rental properties, homes, condos, townhouses. Insurance agents will not need to be, are not.
I'm sorry, can you go back a little bit, because I think this is a good piece of
Sure.
information for people to know. So for example, if I own a rental property, if I have a spare house that I rent out, or I don't need to get a business license to have rental properties.
That's correct. Will not.
And food producers, what can you define? I mean, does that mean McDonald's doesn't need a restaurant?
No.
I mean, a license, or does it mean Mr. Freeman doesn't need a
It means
license?
Mr. Freeman will not need a license. Or
Okay.
anyone that does any kind of business where they grow their own food and sell their own food.
Okay. And insurance agents, for some reasons.
Exempted by state law, so,
Okay.
yeah. They
well,
put
a
that
good
in there.
lobbying firm,
Right.
it's not permanent.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and then okay, I'm sorry. I think- So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4 exceptions, it looks like. But then this is probably good for us to help the public know. So if you're an insurance agent, if you have a rental property business, if you grow stuff or make food, you're off the hook. And if you're an out-of-state business, you don't have to, you're not gonna get in trouble because you do business in Mesa and you just didn't know we have a requirement to register.
Right.
There's another slide, Mayor.
Okay,
There's
so
some
that's the
some
beginning
more
of the list.
exemptions too, it's not quite that easy.
All
but
right,
yes.
thank you, I'm sorry.
No,
I'll
no
shut
problem.
up.
All right, and then there's also government agencies, religious, veterans, civic service, and nonprofits are exempted, schools, anyone that's offering educational lessons or tutoring, so anyone that has like, whether giving piano lessons, swim lessons, all that type of thing are exempted from the business license. Taxis, livery vehicles, limousine service, babysitting services, and then we've also chosen not to require a business license for the transient businesses, really like the mobile vendors, peddlers, and solicitors, since they don't really have a mortar or a permanent
So
base.
a food truck that goes across the valley doesn't need a Mesa business license.
That's correct.
All right.
So under babysitting, would that include childcare centers or just the personal service of
I'll let-
babysitting?
Sarah, answer that one.
It would not include the child care centers. It's providing child care on the personal, individual basis.
So child care centers would need to register for a business license, but if you just provide the service like out of your home or something, of course you wouldn't.
Yes, and the way we phrased it is that if they require a license under state law, then they would require a business license here, but if they're not required under state law to be licensed, then they wouldn't here.
Makes sense, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Pillsbury.
It makes sense that nonprofits wouldn't be included in this, but do we have any kind of nonprofit registry at all or anything? Do you guys know if we have a list of nonprofits in Mesa?
Not that I'm aware of.
The chamber has
Chamber
an
might.
organization for
Of nonprofit,
nonprofits,
too.
but I don't, it's not, certainly not mandatory that you participate in that.
Okay.
And just a clarification for the nonprofits, if it's a nonprofit organization that conducts business in the city on four or fewer occasions a year, they wouldn't need a license. But if it's an ongoing more than 4 times a year, then we would want to see a license there.
That seems like that would be everyone. Don't they all do more than 4 times a year? I don't know.
I think
Okay.
we're just trying to not catch the small nonprofits. Like
Okay.
if you create a nonprofit to do a once-a-year visit to Wymus or something to help, it just the kind of mom and pop nonprofits. But if you're
The
functioning
bigger
as a
ones.
business, you probably would get caught in this.
Okay.
Mr. Luna.
Just one more, and you know
Sure.
I have to ask you this, Ted. The popsicle vendors that go around the community and sell popsicles.
Right.
That's very common, especially in Central Mesa.
Yes.
Do they need a business license?
Mayor, Councilmember Luna, they will not need a business license, but we do have the information from their peddler's license, because that
Yeah.
would be a peddler license they would need to have. And that's pretty wide open for what we want to collect on data. We're pretty open on what we want to ask for on the application and whatever data we would want to collect. But they are required to have a peddler's license to
Okay.
do that.
Okay, and tell me the difference between the peddler license and this, so they're not required a business license,
They will
right?
not require a
But
business
they require,
license.
they're required a peddler's
Right.
license. How are we getting that information out to them?
The main difference between the business license and one of these type of licenses is the data that we're going to collect. So on a peddler that's just pushing like the popsicle vendor, we're not going to find out how big their organization is or how many employees they have and then the different data that we're really trying to collect through a business license. The peddler license is really to identify who's doing the business, their vehicle information, make sure they've got a legal right to be in the United States. We collect all that type of stuff. And then just having some kind of an idea, so if someone would complain or whatever, we would have that information available to us as to the individual that would be doing that.
Okay, great.
Because each individual requires a license on that.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
So not to get too far off topic, but I don't want to create confusion in the community because we have recently amended our food truck ordinance. And and again, I know we're getting off the topic, but can you explain the difference between the peddler's license and the food truck ordinance requirements?
So the peddler's license is intended to address the smaller operations that aren't operating out of the trailers that can be pulled on the highway or the larger trucks that can be driven on the highway where the cooking is happening all in that vehicle or trailer. And so the peddlers would be like the popsicles or the balloons, things you see like that. And the requirements for the license are slightly different. So the peddlers, if they're going door to door, we would want to do a background check. But if they're not, then we wouldn't be doing that fingerprinting and background check. And so that would be the major difference.
So in some ways, the peddler's license really requires more information than the food truck license, fingerprinting, that type of thing. The food truck license is more along the lines of the model state ordinance, and fingerprinting is not required. It's a little easier to comply with, it seems like.
Yes, so the requirements are slightly different, especially because the food trucks, they aren't going door to door into people's homes like that. And so that's one of the reasons why we would require more information from people who would be doing that.
Okay, sorry to go off on that tangent. I just didn't want folks listening to this to not understand the distinction there.
Sure. All right. And then continuing on with who is will not need a license is sales representatives and then people at special events, mobile food vendors, peddlers, where they're licensed elsewhere in the city. Because again, they're more mobile, so they don't have a permanent position to be or a place to be at. The proposed fees that we're going to be asking council to approve is $10 for the first year, and then it'll be $25 every year afterwards. You can kind of see the comparison here on where the other cities are at. And then as far as failure to acquire or renew a license, it's going to be a civil violation if they don't acquire a business license. However, we will not be imposing any penalties whatsoever the very first year. So the first year is education and compliance. So we'll be doing a lot of outreach and working with all of our citizens to make sure that they understand what they need to do and then get the proper licensing to do that, and whether they're required to get a license or not.
I just wanted to ask one question, if you don't mind jumping in. So if a business has a sales tax license, in addition, they would also need to have a business license. We don't have access to the sales tax license database information. I mean, the state, I know, facilitates that. I assume we don't hold the information.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor Duff. That data is all protected and is controlled by the state, and unfortunately, the cities cannot access that data. And that's one reason we've really been pushing for the business licenses, to be able to collect that data and other data, because the sales tax license application did not collect a lot of the data that we're looking for. So this is going to give us the ability to collect the data that we want and also be able to access the data and utilize that data throughout the city.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Councilmember Duff, just a clarification. We do have access to the tax data for the purposes of administering tax. We can't use it for any other purpose, though.
Okay.
It's DOR's data, and it's by law, it's confidential to the specific application of transaction privilege tax.
Yeah, the TPT
Yep.
license. Okay. Well, I support being able to acquire this information of what businesses we do have in Mesa. It would have been so useful when we had the CARES dollars, the
Yes.
federal dollars we had, and the programs, and we'll have some ongoing programs to be able to get the information to the businesses, that we have all kinds of assistance available and a partner with them. So,
And Mayor, Council,
appreciate that.
Economic Development has hired an individual, and a good part of her job is specifically to go out and outreach to the business community. And they will be partnering with us to both get people signed up for the business license, as well as then to use the business license information to get information out to those businesses on the programs that Economic Development has available.
Right, and I assume we'll be using so many partnerships that we have, like the Mesa Chamber and other
Absolutely.
organizations that assist businesses.
Absolutely, the
to be
information will
able
be
to-
available.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Reddy.
question on how are we facilitating the application or the information that we're asking businesses to log onto our website or to our system and giving us their information, paying this application fee? Is that through Dimes or through a different system? And can we make it as easy as possible? As a small business owner, I just want to make sure, as we're asking businesses to do this, that we facilitate that the more simple, the better for them to provide this information and pay for their application and this fee that we're asking them. So.
Yes, Mayor, Councilmember Heredia, it will be done through Dimes, and one of my goals has been to try to keep the application as small as possible. So collect the absolute data that we need, but keep it as small as possible. And I think we kept it to just a page, and the second page is just the signature and declaration. So far, we've been able to hold it to that. So it will be on Dimes. It's going to be all online. We're hiring 2 staff. If council approves this, there'll be 2 staff members assigned to this as well to handle the workload and also help answer questions and work with citizens when they have concerns or questions about that. So our goal is to try to make this as easy as possible and facilitate everything online. So if they need any help, they can certainly come in and we'll work with them. But we're going to work with them on the computer. So we've got kiosks set up inside of the licensing office, and we're going to show them how to do that if they need to have that assistance. Some want to do it themselves, and if some want the assistance, we're going to have staff available to help them do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question.
Sure.
I assume that the license itself will be at minimum in Spanish.
Yes, it'll be in English and Spanish.
Okay, and then the instructions from the business license perhaps available in other languages as well?
At this point in time, it's just English and Spanish.
Okay,
So
all
if we
right.
get a lot of requests, we can certainly adapt to that. So we've got people in the city that can help us with that and do that in other languages. But
Yeah.
at this point in time, we've just planned on Spanish and English.
Great, and I have a little request that
Sure.
sometimes a little video tutorial is very informative rather than trying to, especially if there's language barriers or even government language. You know, to follow along if there's, you know, how to access or fill out. And we'll have to look at what there is, but sometimes those little video tutorials are very
Well, I think
easy
that-
to understand.
I think that's a great suggestion. We'll take a look at that and see if we can incorporate something
Okay,
like that.
thank you.
Yes.
I'll just add on the language, you know, we have a abundance of Asian businesses here, maybe looking into some information around Mandarin or Vietnamese, so that we can have at least some resources available for those businesses as well.
Sounds good.
I like the video idea to help small business to get the word out, but I think it also, I would love to see us have a short explanation of the why, because I think there'll be some suspicion in the business community is, oh, this is government, you know, why are you trying to get my data? And that's a great question. Why are we trying to get their data? And we have a good explanation. And if we can tell the story of COVID and how we have, as a community, we are more engaged now in providing small business assistance than we ever have been, and we just want to be able to be of assistance to our businesses. And we can't do that if we don't know who you are. So I think we do need to lead with that so that people don't assign some weird motivation to why we're doing this.
Right.
You know, Mayor,
Yes.
another reason I think it could be really good is I'm working on an economic development piece along Broadway Road in a corridor, and we're trying to identify the businesses there that we can contact in order to plan, you know, what we could do together in creating a economic corridor and what kind of businesses are there and what kind of workforce they need and things like that. And being able to have that information to at least contact them so we can talk about their business and how we can assist in growing in our economic development field. So I can think of a number of different ways beyond assistance, but in growth. I think it's a win-win for everybody. It helps, so thank you.
I agree, thank you.
Mr. Thompson?
I struggle a little bit because, I mean, I'm cool with getting a business license. I know we talked about this, we've been talking about this for years. Going into the business license benefits, sharing information with entities such as economic development and the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not sure about sharing of information because some people may want their information not shared outside of the licensing department, especially when you go out to a third party like the Chamber of Commerce, right? So I have some issues with that. And the other one, I know we had talked before when we first started talking about this like 5 years ago. We talked about not implementing a fee early on, that we would wait. And I know $10 isn't going to bankrupt a company, hopefully. But we had talked about waiving the fees for the first year to allow businesses to sign up since it's going to be new. So I'd really like to see that, where we waive the fees, because there's businesses in Mesa that have been here for decades, and all of a sudden now we're going to hit them with a fee. And so I would rather us do like a waiver for the first year or provide leeway for the first year where there's no application fee to get your license. So that's where I'm at.
So that raises a question. Who has access to this information? If someone wants to start sending junk mail to businesses, can they walk into the city and say, here's my check, you know, give me your mailing list? Or who do we share this information with?
I mean, I guess at this point in time, not all the data is going to be available to the public, so you really can't get all the minutia into the data. What we're anticipating doing as far as asking for businesses and what kind of clustering and so forth is giving them the general information. So if you want to know how many dry cleaners are in a certain area or whatever, we're going to do that. But if you want to get into number of employees and all that kind of stuff, that's data that we're not going to release.
So we're an open data city, so if we have this, then someone could do a records request and get it from us. I can't think of why this would be privileged, right? And so you're saying part of it is we would actually create a business directory, and someone could log on and say, I live in such and such a neighborhood, I need a dry cleaner, and we could facilitate them connecting to a business. Is that what you just said? And but to get to Kevin's point,
Right.
I guess if we're the government and we collect data, we're transparent and people get whatever data we have. And so we're not going to protect this data in any way. That's a question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Unless there would be some reason that it wouldn't be subject to public records requests, then we would disclose it if it was requested.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tim's group plans on having it readily available online for in like a posted way, but maybe just upon request is when it would be disclosed.
So could there be like a box that somebody can check that says something like, do not release my information? And then that way we can hold it confidential?
Well, I think they could check that box, but we're still the government and we still have to.
Yeah,
We don't keep
I'm not
secrets.
okay with this then.
Maybe it would help if, I'm just gonna talk since no one's calling on me. Does that work? Okay. So I've been trying to raise my hand. I think maybe it would help to see what the business license looks like and what information's actually being asked. Because I was under the impression when we talked about this months ago that it was gonna be very basic, general information. We're not asking major details. I think the fact that we're $10 compared to like 60 for Queen Creek, 62 for Scottsdale, that's proof that we're doing this for good reasons. We're trying to help the business community. We're not trying to be the big bad government taking over their business and finding out all their information. So I love the $10. I think that's incredible that we're so low because that's just proof. We're just trying to get everyone registered so we know who they are, basic information. That was my understanding. I didn't think we were getting very specific information on this application.
Mayor, council members, one of the uses of the information is for our public safety folks too. So there will be some information in there such as contacts and phone numbers. And as Sarah said, if we got a records request or a request for the information, we would go through and see what's deemed confidential under the state public records laws. And another thing that I might add too, when we came forward with one of the proposals some time ago, we were discussing the fee, and one of the options that we proposed was no fee. We've done some research on state law and some other things, but we thought that was generally the will of the council. So when we bring that forward next week, in 2 weeks, there is a separate item on the fees, and we are open to whatever the council deems appropriate for the fee.
So this is on the consent agenda for Monday, correct?
As an introduction, yes.
As an introduction.
And then we'll be back on the 15th.
Okay, so I guess, if you're in the witness protection program and you don't want anybody to know about you, you're probably not going to open a business and be open for business to the public. So I guess I don't want to get overly protective here. If people are, again, wanting to be below the radar, don't open a dry cleaning store, I guess. But and the information that we're collecting is simply, do you have a business? What type of business is it? We're going to have like 10 different boxes you can check to put you in a category, is that correct?
Yeah, we'll be using NACES codes, so we'll be classifying these businesses. So basically, we're gonna ask them what kind of business they are, and then we'll have a specific code for that type of thing. So dry cleaners would fit in a specific type of business. So would retail stores and car dealerships and that kind of stuff. So all of that type of stuff would be in there. How many employees are you gonna have? Who owns the companies? What's their name, phone numbers, and so forth? So again, so public safety would be able to have that information, and we make sure that we've got updated information for first responders.
Do we ask for, I'm sorry, Julie, I'm going to come to you. Do we ask for, the point of this, from my perspective, is we want to communicate to them. So do we gather email addresses?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you.
I was just gonna ask also, I'm assuming there's probably some administrative costs in putting forward the business license, so wouldn't that also be what the fee's trying to cover?
Yes. Mayor, council members, Spilsbury, absolutely. And plus, we're having 2 new staff for this as well, too. So staff alone's about $150,000 per year just to run that. Then the maintenance on the programming and all that, plus the, printing costs and so forth. And a lot of these we're going to try to email out, so there won't be costs so much for the paper on that. But there are definitely costs to run this program.
I think the fact that we have no penalties in effect the first year, we have no late fee or penalty for, if they're late on it. I mean, I think that's very fair. I think $10 is extremely reasonable. I think it would help cover these administrative costs you just talked about. So I'm all for the $10 fee.
Mr. Freeman.
Well, this has been a robust discussion. I didn't think you expected this, did you? I've been thinking about the Dimes portal that you talked about. I mean, it's somewhat not user-friendly really well, but based on Councilmember Heredia's and other feedback as far as languages, if there could be a click on a button, a drop-down menu, you could select the language that you wish to communicate with, and then the application is in that language. Just an idea, along with the video component, could be helpful. And maybe a website or a link that they could go to automatically to help businesses do a little recon to decide whether or not they want or they need to sign up. And the criteria, like a fact, sheet over here, I'm sure you're considering all that. And I've always been a proponent of cost recovery minimally. I'm okay with the $10 fee. And the data thing, I would like to see how it plays out, on Monday. But other than that, I'm good with the proposal so far. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Luna.
Ever since I've been on council, the Chamber of Commerce has advocated for business directory because they don't know what businesses are in the city of Mesa. So I think this is a great idea. I think we need to identify. And also, when you look at businesses, we also need to look at clustering. Certainly, we don't want the same business in the same area. And if they have an idea who's there, they probably want to locate to another area. So, and the $10 is a nominal fee. Certainly, that's not going to bankrupt anyone. And so I'm going to be in support of this as well.
Mr. Thompson.
So here's my concern with the data, right? So like I have a home office and I intentionally don't put my address and my cell phone number or my telephone number out for the world to see. And so if I'm providing information to you, because I only provide my information to when I do an RFP or when I provide my information to a client or potential client. But I don't want people showing up to my house thinking that it's an office. And I don't meet people at my house. I use my home office, for doing my research and outreach and stuff like that. How do I keep, and this goes for anybody that operates a home office, how do you keep that information from being put out into the public eye? Especially as a council member, or you may have, somebody from law enforcement or someone else that has a home business on the side. How do you protect their information and hold it confidential?
So, Mayor and Council, I don't know if I can fully answer the question for you, but let me take a step back and then I'll try to answer this question. A number of the pieces of information are already out there on the Corporation Commission. People's names for their organization is out there. An address is out there already for you. And so, and if your address is only a home address, obviously there's obviously the option of having a PO box. But if you're any type of corporation or organization, you're going to be on the Corporation Commission website already with an address and a name. And so a lot of this information is actually already out there in the public. And as far as things like contact information, Tim mentioned it's for public safety. I'd also say it's for the city. As we saw with the CARES money, the city wanted to contact businesses to be able to give money to businesses to help the businesses, and the lack of this information became problematic. And as far as the number of employees, I can still remember sitting in here and the size of the business became very critical in how to fund CARES dollars, and we spent a lot of time with a council and trying to figure out different sizes, and economic development had good guesstimates of the number of businesses with different sizes of employees, but we didn't have actual numbers. And so This information is, is relevant for that. I know it doesn't answer fully your question, Councilmember Thompson, but a lot of this information, or a fair amount of this information, is already out there. So if people wanted to contact businesses, there's already a website that you can easily access to get business addresses. But to be able to utilize it for the city and figure out to have an easy database for the city, and to be able to contact businesses in the future, the city found through the last 2 years, we didn't have that.
Vice Mayor.
Mr. Smith, so would it be possible, I like collecting the information and having the demographic and the demographics of our businesses and the sizes and everything so that we can, better serve our city, our businesses. But I'm not sure about having available all the contact information available for public viewing. Can we just hold it internally for, public safety or whatever things that we need to do as a city, just like our utility bills or whatever? Yes, we have that information about residents and businesses, but we don't share that information publicly. Can we just hold it for our city use and not make it available for other entities or the public to access?
Yeah, we do on public records requests do redact certain information, sometimes phone numbers and the email address. I'd have to look at and think about just the mailing address, because many times that mailing address is the address that's also on the Corporation Commission website, so it's not, to say we're going to redact that. We'd have to look at that a little bit. If it's a residential home, we'd have to look at that. But as far as phone numbers and email addresses, and as far as sort of demographic information, and if you want to look, it's maybe not as robust as you're hoping for. I know there's interesting sort of dynamic here. I'm trying to read, it's very small on my screen here, but it's, description of the business, we're incorporated, trade name, mailing address, names of sort of all the general partnership management, when it began, number of employees, but it's not going to be sort of it's not going to be some sort of detailed demographic sort of information that maybe you're thinking it is. If you look, it's easily found in 5-53D in those numbered sections down there.
Yeah, I was looking more like the number of employees, so we know how large they were and what type of business they're in. Not so much about a cultural race things.
Okay, then we're on the same page.
Yeah. So I would really like to see an example of the application posted for public comment. Could we do that since we're introducing it next week and then before, so that everybody's aware of what information we are gathering and have public comment on that?
Yeah, Mayor, Vice Mayor, I've got the application pretty much done, so it's in a draft form, but I mean, at this point in time, we pretty much know what we're asking already. So yes, I can make that available.
Okay, if that is the direction, then I
Sure.
would be in support of that. Also, we are not asking for any revenue.
We are not.
Annual sales, anything like that.
We are not.
Okay, good. And a home-based business is exempt. So if you have a home office,
No,
No, they're
No?
not exempt. We are going to collect that data if you're
we
a
are?
home-based
Okay,
business.
so
Yep.
I'm remembered that incorrectly. Okay, thank
Well, I
you.
mean, there's a long list of types of businesses that are
Exemptions.
exempt, and many of those might be home-based, but if you are,
Oh, okay, here we are.
yeah,
Okay.
you're in business
I
at your house,
stand
like a lot of
corrected.
people
Thank
are.
you.
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Luna.
Tim, what might be helpful is to look at other communities and what they've done. We know a lot of communities in and around Maricopa County have business license, and what concerns have arisen as a result of having this license. It might not be an issue. So if we find out, well, they have them in Tempe, they have them in Phoenix, they have them in other communities, and these aren't really issues. So it would be great if we got that information as well.
Mayor, Councilmember Luna, we did do a lot of research when we
Okay.
set this up, and Chapel was our main driver on this, so we really went through their data, contacted them, and had discussions with them as well, too. They were the last ones, I think, to implement one, so We've really been picking their brains.
Okay,
on
and
this
were
one.
there any issues?
Really not, no.
Okay.
There always is, no matter what you do, but minimal. So, and the
Minimal
ones that
issues?
they did have, we think we've corrected or are not
Okay.
going to do on our side, because they've thus made some changes as well,
Okay,
too.
so yeah, they've gone through the process already, they made
Yes.
adjustments, and so we can follow their lead, if you will.
Right.
Okay.
And Mayor and Council, a thought that came through my head as I was sitting here, we can look at a progressive disclosure type process in regards to the information. So the first level of information that is available could be limited to certain data items. And then if someone wants more information, they would go to the next level of inquiry to get that. And we could set guidelines on what is and is not allowed to be released. But that first level of information that's broadly available, we could limit what fields those are, what pieces of data those are, to try and address some of the concerns that the council's expressed as well.
Mr. Pombier.
Mayor and council, first I'd start by acknowledging this did become more of a robust conversation than my boss told me it was going to be, so I'm sure he laughed all the way to the airport. But secondly, before we get too far afield, we also have a data privacy policy under our smart cities, and we can provide that to you so that you understand. We've started to think about when we collect data, what do we do with it? And before we reinvent the wheel on this business license, maybe we can provide you with that and see if that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a fun topic. So again, we're just introducing this on Monday. It'll come back to us in 2 weeks to have the public hearing, and I think that gives us a great 2-week opportunity for the public to come forward and express what concerns there might be. As we all know, there's a great deal of sensitivity around sharing of data, personal data, and so we need to be responsible in explaining to people what this is. On the other hand, I think there's a lot of what we're talking about is information that's already in the public domain. And so we're really not doing something that's not already being done in other forums. But it would be good to wrap our heads around that. To what extent are we breaking new ground here in creating a source of data that's available to the public? Or are we just making it more easy for organizations like the Chamber and the city when we want to have small business assistance programs, that we don't have to wonder who it is that we need to help?
Yeah, and one thing I can point out too, Mayor, is we get public requests for business licenses. I see at least 20, 30 emails a week from businesses saying, I'm relocating to Mesa. What do we need to do to get your business license? So they're very tuned to this. They're very much, and I've actually gone 2 or 3 rounds with some companies because they're insisting we've got to have a business license because everybody's got a business license. So as of right now, obviously we do not. So again, I think a lot of the public is very used to it from dealing with other cities.
Right. Yeah, I think we're more the exception than the rule to not to collect this data already, aren't we?
Yes.
Mayor, if I can just add, I think from the public safety standpoint, this is critical when we respond to calls. When they respond to calls, sorry, try to be first person here. But it allows them to point a contact for police or fire or even an inspector, regardless of where we're at in the city. So, you know, some things are dire emergencies and we need contact. So I think it's important that goes in effect to all the departments that need that information. You know, they have them on their MCTs there in their trucks, and so, or cars. I'll just leave with that. Thanks.
Thank you. Did we interrupt you in the middle of your presentation? Is there more to be done
I think
here?
we're about ready to wrap this one up.
Okay.
Just let's let you know where we're at right now. We have posted the public. We have done the 60-day posting of the fees. Business license and licensing system, we're working on that and getting that into the DIME system. As we've stated, we are going to introduce this on 11/1. We began the hiring process for staff, so if the council does approve this, we'll be ready to go and have the staff on board. The consideration is on 11/15, and we've already begun outreach, and we'll be doing a lot more outreach to the public and letting them know where we're at. And then our goal is to begin licensing as of 1/3/2022. There we go.
All right, thank you. So again, council, this is on for consent. If we want to initiate more of a public dialogue on this, we might consider taking it off of consent just so that we can have a short presentation on Monday and continue to get the word out so that we get feedback before the public hearing. I'll throw that out as an idea. I support this, but again, the devil's in the details, and I think that people are going to look at this with suspicion, and we need to be able to explain it in a way that they understand that, we're not talking about sharing information that's not already available in some ways. So I'm going to make the suggestion we take it off the consent agenda just to have a short presentation on it on Monday so that we can help get the word out.
I'm good with that.
That's good.
All
I
right,
agree with that.
all right. Thank you. Anything else on this topic, Mr. Pombier?
Not on this one.
Thank you. I know we do have also the agenda item 7A having to do with mayor and council compensation that is on for, is that just for introduction as well on Monday?
No, I believe that's on for
Okay.
taking action. Mayor and Council, John Pombier, Assistant City Manager, and I have the pleasure of presenting on 7A. Up until about 15 minutes ago, I thought I had the fun one this morning.
Yeah.
So let me go back a little bit in time. Back in 2012, the council created a compensation commission to look at the compensation of mayor and council. I was new to the 7th floor at that time and didn't realize that was a lifetime appointment when I took the assignment, but apparently it was. We have in the gallery with us today Jill Kotzer and Deputy City Attorney Alfred Smith. They have been with me throughout this, and they're here to make sure that I don't get anything wrong, and also I wanted you to acknowledge they're the ones that do all the work behind this committee, so it's important for you to see that a lot of work goes into what I'm about to tell you. That commission came together because they wanted to first acknowledge that the amount of effort that council and the mayor put in is substantial, and they wanted it recognized in what they termed to be reasonable compensation. When they came together most recently, they had a recommendation of $1,200 across the board for each council member and the mayor, and let me tell you why they got there. They wanted to, once again, acknowledge the fact that what you do is very important, and they also wanted to, their ultimate goal is to get us to the council being 60% of what the mayor makes. So this $1,200 would be a 2.95% increase for the council members and a 1.63 increase for the mayor, which brings that to almost 56% of what the council is almost 56%. To be very clear, one of the reasons the commission thought this was a good idea is the mayor has not received a raise since 2015. Council has not received a raise since 2017. And as you know, having just gone through the budget process, in any one given year, our employees at a minimum have gotten 3%. So the commission did not believe this was extravagant in any way, and they believed it was reasonable to compensate for the effort that is provided by this council. So that is, they didn't change anything else. It's just $1,200 across the board with those stated reasons, and I can take any questions you have on this process, but.
Thank you, John, for that robust presentation.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're.
No slides or anything.
But this won't take effect until 2023, is that correct? So it wouldn't affect my colleague to my left and myself.
Correct. This is voted. If you were to go forward with this, it would go into effect in January of 2023.
Okay, just want to make sure that's
Yep.
clear.
So it would impact the incoming council members in the next election, and there'd be an election between now and when this would take effect. Okay.
Yes, as a matter of fact, when this was first passed back in, I believe, 2013, it didn't take effect until 2015.
Yeah.
So generally, we do that so that the way the election falls, you're not voting individually on your own council's raise, it's the next council's raise that you're talking about.
And just to set the stage, again, that there's an ordinance in place where this group of citizens is required to come together every few years to consider the topic of council and mayor compensation to see if adjustments ought to be made to make recommendations. They have in the past made recommendations, and we've declined to move on them.
Yes, they are required to come back within 3 years, and they forward something to council. Council then has to decide whether they're for or against, and it's gone both ways over the last 8 years.
Yeah.
9 years.
Okay. And so I was particularly interested in the mayor's compensation. And I think what you're saying is this would reflect a 1.63 increase over the course, at least over the last 8 years. So rather than, most city employees get like a 3% increase at a minimum each year, this would be a less than 2% increase over the course of 8 years.
That would be correct,
So
Mayor.
essentially static, far less than, all of these proposals are much less than the cost of living or inflation.
I'm fairly confident it has not kept up with inflation.
All right. All right. Those are just a couple of points to make. Council, other questions or comments on this? So right now, this is on the consent agenda for Monday.
That is correct.
We'll see if it stays on or not. All right. Thank you, Mr. Pombier. Any other questions or comments on our agenda for Monday? All right, next item on our agenda then for this meeting is to acknowledge board minutes. Is there a motion to that effect? Thank you, Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Freeman. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, that passes unanimously. Item 3 is current event summary and reports on meetings and conferences attended. Who would like to go first? Mr. Thompson.
Just a reminder for everyone that Fuel of Dreams in support of the Special Olympics is tonight at Fry stores. I think every district is going to be involved. District 6 is going to be at Guadalupe and Signal Butte at the Fry's.
Mr. Luna.
Thank you, Mayor. This weekend, we celebrated Dia de los Muertos. It was an outstanding weekend. There were over 20,000 people in attendance, I think, both days. And we had a great kickoff, and then we had a great closing. And Mayor, you got to introduce the Council General. What was his name?
Jorge Mendoza. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, great job.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of people there, and I appreciate my colleagues that were able to go. Saturday also was service day for the city of Mesa. Many of us participate in different activities throughout the city, and it's a great volunteer effort to try to work on our city, because obviously we rely on our volunteers to assist us, because we can't all do everything. But our volunteers are a significant and important part of our community, so we appreciate the volunteers that went out there and did some neighborhood cleanup. On Monday, I participated in the 21st Apache commemoration, where they were nationally recognized Mesa Boeing team. So we're really happy that our Boeing company in District 5 does a great job. And not only do they do a great job for Mesa, but they serve well for our national defense. So we appreciate that. And Mayor, you got to that as well. And let's see, trick or treat event was a great success at Red Mountain branch of the library. So we appreciate library staff for doing that. And I think that's, Friday, we do have a free movie showing at Red Mountain Mesa Community College on Power and McKellips. So if you want to take your kids to see a free movie, and there will also be some treats for children. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Luna, I just want to add to your comments about the Boeing event. Something that I thought stuck out from that they were celebrating the production of the 2021st Apache helicopter in the year 2021. So that was going back decades. You know, that's been, think about what a huge blessing it's been to have Boeing in our community, and they're celebrating their 2021st Apache helicopter. Also, they were celebrating receiving that production team received a Boeing-wide, worldwide award for innovation in fixing a production problem. So they were very proud of that, weren't they? Council, other comments? Ms. Pillsbury.
I also participated in the Love Your City Service Day on Saturday, and wanted to give a shout out to First Presbyterian Church for stuffing and delivering city resource bags, and Eagle Scout Troop 697 for painting house numbers on the curbs in front of 342 homes in the Brentwood West neighborhood. Those were really fun to participate in. I also attended a ribbon cutting at Speakeasy Salon Suites. That's on Greenfield and the 60. And they offer businesses in the health and beauty industry to rent a salon space in their building. So it's a neat thing going on there. We're going to talk about a New Leaf. We went to a New Leaf's 50th anniversary celebration on Saturday night, and what an incredible organization. For 50 years have been doing amazing work in the city of Mesa. I really enjoyed that. I also wanted to mention Dia de los Muertos because I was there Saturday and Sunday. I cannot believe how many people go to that thing. It was amazing. It was such a neat experience. So shout out to everyone that was involved in that. It was really, really impressive. And my cute neighbor girl was dancing in Folklorico de Mexicano, is that how you say it? On Saturday. And it was just, I loved seeing all these people honoring their ancestors. On Friday, this Friday, Mesa Art Center is having their renovations, ribbon cutting of the new renovations that have been done there in preparation for the next season starting with the shows there. So I think there's more, but that's probably it for now. Calendar is busy right now.
I have to add, like Mr. Luna, that New Leaf for 50 years is a big deal in the city of Mesa. It's just, you can't overstate the significance of the contributions that a New Leaf has been in our community. So we should do all we can to congratulate them on 50 years. They've gone from a very small organization in Mesa to being statewide and impacting a lot of lives every day. So congratulations to all the people in Mesa that have been on the board and have worked so hard to make that a successful organization for the last 50 years.
And Mike's there for 45?
Yeah.
And Mike Hughes has been there
45.
for 60 or 70 years, which is hard to understand, but the CEO has been a big part of that, hasn't he? Mr.
You want to trade or? Well, I like this service day. I appreciate the Mesa Leadership Group. They painted the bridges across some of the canal crossings, so they're all tuned up, ready for people to use on the paths there. And then this Friday is a PD class of 49. They're graduating from their academy, so we have another academy coming out of police officers. And let's see what else.
You did the cemetery tour.
Oh, I did the cemetery tour as well. I was going to tag on Councilmember Thompson's the Field of Dreams. There's additional at Fry's locations, Greenfield in Maine, Alma School in Maine, Country Club in Baseline, and those are all to benefit the Special Olympics of Arizona. And then we have the opportunity, 3 of us, I guess, at the cemetery. Mayor, I'll let you elaborate on yours. And the Vice Mayor talked about my grandmother, so appreciated that. And I learned about Powder River Jack. Thanks, that's it.
Well, I'll let the Vice Mayor, she did a great job talking about the woman who delivered most of the people that live in Mesa, it sounds like, yeah.
Helen Millett Dana, she was a midwife and delivered over 12,500 babies right in here in Mesa. And I represented her at the cemetery tour, but one of the really cool things, other than representing, it was your grandmother, is that I met a woman who was actually delivered by her. She was a midwife for not only her, but some of the siblings, because Helen had delivered babies up until, I think, 1959. So it's in more recent history, so it was really cool to share those stories. Just to complete out some other things that I did this past week, on Friday I attended the Mesa Chamber Green Flag Business Plan Challenge. It's mentors coming together and entrepreneurs creating their business plan in 24 hours. So they start at 6 p.m. on Friday evening, and they're there till 6 p.m. Saturday evening, and they take them through different segments of building their business plan, and that's an annual event. It was lots of fun to kick that off. On Tuesday, many of us were at the Domestic Violence Awareness Night at Pioneer Park. 1 out of every 3 or 4 people experience domestic violence, so it is a very common thing. And Arizona is 5th in the nation for domestic violence, so we encourage anybody, if you suspect there's any kind of violence going on between people, to, if you see it, say it, make a phone call, build that awareness, and save lives and repair families. This morning, I went on a walk before a study session with Lowell Elementary School. Is the Walk to School Day event, and we started at Horn and Maine and made it to Lowell Elementary School, and it was accompanied by Transportation Department and Mesa PD, and we had a great turnout. There had to be maybe 100 people. I don't know exactly, but it was a lot, and it was lots of fun. Good way to get going for the day right before it. And coming up this weekend, there's lots of Halloween things going on in downtown. Jim Bob's Burgers costume contest will be going on, and Jim Bob has great burgers once a year at Worth Takeaway on Saturday. And so I'll be a judge at that contest, as well as a judge and a costume contest that evening for the Downtown Mesa Association. And that evening at 6:45, I think, it starts all the events of music, and there'll be vendors and all kinds of things. And from 11 to 3 in downtown, it's the downtown trick or treat. Kids can collect little goodies and candies up and down Main Street. It'll be packed. So starting from 11 o'clock into the evening, we have celebrations going on for Halloween, so come join us. Thank you. No, I think our PD, Fuel to, what is it? Anyway, the PD.
Field of Dreams.
Fuel to Dreams is Alma School in Maine that fries as far as this area. So, thank you.
I'm sorry, Frankie, go ahead.
Couple events as well, some fall festivals at Webster Recreation Center, Webster School, tomorrow, from 5:30 to 8. And then also our Mesa PD Fiesta Division Trunk or Treat Halloween event on, at their station, from 6 to 8, where it's open for the public out there to get some candy and, talk to some of the neighbors out there. Also, we just want to give out a shout out to our Your City volunteers. We had a couple employees from Apple, also ER2 business here at Mesa, provide some volunteer hours on Saturday. So appreciate their support, cleaning alleys and with our little library systems across the city of Mesa. So anything else? Also shout out to the Palo Verde Neighborhood Association. They had about 250 people out there at their Halloween event, Trunk or Treat, on Tuesday night. So it's a really great get together of a neighborhood there where we remodeled recently their park there. So I think that's it. Thank you.
I think anything I would have talked about has been covered, so thank you, Council, for being so busy. Mr. Pombay, what does our schedule of future meetings look like?
Mayor and council, we will be back on Monday night for a study session and a council meeting beginning at 5:15. I believe if you check your email inboxes, you already, our ITD has emailed you the data privacy policy, so you'll be able to take a look at that in lieu of the meeting on Monday. And then the last thing I will note is today is a community spirit fundraiser, a burrito sale. So it's giving to charity and eating burritos. I'm not sure that there's a better day in the world than that, all right? And if staff runs out, as soon as we end here, you'll know why. We're all pretty hungry for our burritos now, so.
Where's that located at?
I believe it's over at Utilities. It's a 640 North Mesa Drive. So you ask a question you already knew the answer to, and you got me that one. Good one.
That's how I operate.
Wait her out. All right. And I believe that you've heard enough from me now. Thank you.
All right, nice job today, John. Council, if there's nothing else, that concludes our business. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Thank you, Mr. Luna and Mr. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. We are adjourned.